Welcome to Relationship Exposed. In today's video, we dive into a story of betrayal, humiliation, and revenge. Grab a seat, because this one will have you questioning loyalty, love, and what people are capable of when the masks finally come off. There was never going to be a wedding. Not anymore. That much became clear at exactly 2:47 in the morning, when a single Facebook notification shattered the illusion of the life I thought I was building. The woman I had been with for 8 years, my fiancée, my best friend, the person I thought I would grow old with, wasn't who I believed she was. That night, while most of the town slept, a single picture began spreading like wildfire across social media. By the time the sun rose, everyone, from my closest friends to strangers in coffee shops, had seen it. A blurry photo of my fiancé at her bachelorette party, locked in an embrace with another man. His lips pressed against hers, her hands tangled in his hair. It wasn't just betrayal, it was a public spectacle. And when I woke up to see that image, tagged, shared, and commented on by people who knew us, I knew two things immediately. I wasn't going to marry her, and she wasn't going to get away with humiliating me. The thing about small towns is that news doesn't just travel fast, it clings. Gossip weaves itself into the fabric of daily life. By the time I left the house that morning, it felt like the entire town was buzzing with whispers, pointing fingers, laughing at me. But instead of running from it, I decided to use it. If she wanted to turn my life into a scandal, then fine. I'd make sure everyone saw the whole truth. I started small. Her friends, the ones who had been at that bachelorette party, suddenly found themselves flooded with screenshots. Their group chats weren't as private as they thought. Every message, every cruel little joke about me, I had it all. And I made sure others did too. One by one, people began turning on her. At work, in her social circles, even in her family. The picture wasn't just a mistake anymore. It became a symbol of who she really was. And as for me, I wasn't the broken, humiliated man she thought I'd be. I was patient, calculated, and I had every intention of showing her what happens when you betray someone who's given you nothing but loyalty. When she came home the next day, it was already too late. The locks had been changed. Her key no longer fit, and for the first time in 8 years, she realized she wasn't welcome in the life we had built together. She stood there on the porch, confused, angry, fumbling with her keys like maybe she was just too tired, too hungover to figure out why the door wouldn't open. But then she noticed the small envelope taped neatly above the lock. Her name was written in my handwriting. Calm, steady, deliberate. Inside, she found one photograph. Not the blurry one from Facebook that the whole town had seen, but the original, high-quality version taken on someone's phone, where every detail was crystal clear. Her lips on his hands on her waist, her wedding ring visible on her finger. I can only imagine what went through her head in that moment. Maybe shame, maybe panic, maybe anger at being caught. But what I do know is that she knocked on that door for almost 10 minutes straight, shouting my name, demanding I let her in, cursing me loud enough for the neighbors to hear. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The whole point was to let her feel the same public humiliation I had felt, to let her stand outside, exposed, while the whispers started again. Not about me this time, but about her. Word spread quickly, as it always does. By noon, people weren't talking about the fiancé who got cheated on anymore. They were talking about the bride-to-be who was locked out of her own house, begging to be let back in. Friends called her phone and didn't pick up when she answered. Co-workers canceled her shifts at the boutique she worked at, saying maybe she should take some time off. Even her mother, who had always been her fiercest defender, had stopped returning her calls. But the real blow came later that evening, when she finally managed to reach me. Her voice was hoarse from crying, her tone broken in a way I had never heard before. She begged me to talk. She swore it had been a mistake, a stupid drunken moment, something meaningless. She tried to paint herself as the victim, a woman who had too much to drink, a woman whose friends encouraged her, a woman who didn't even remember half the night. But I didn't buy it, and neither did anyone else. Because while she was begging me for forgiveness, I was already sending out the second wave of truth. Screenshots, videos, messages, everything her so-called friends had said about me, about our relationship, about how she could do better, about how she was settling marrying me. The whole toxic circle was exposed, one by one. And the best part? I didn't have to lift a finger beyond hitting send. The town, the same town that had once laughed at me, now turned its back on her. By the end of that week, she had lost her job. Her friends stopped speaking to her. Even the man she had kissed at the party, the one who started it all, refused to answer her calls. In less than 7 days, her perfect little world had crumbled. And I wasn't done yet. Because this wasn't just about revenge. It was about balance. About reminding her that loyalty is priceless, and betrayal always comes with a cost. The days that followed were strangely quiet for me, almost peaceful in a way. For the first time in years, I woke up without the weight of compromise pressing down on my chest. No forced smiles, no pretending everything was fine, no overlooking little red flags. The house felt lighter, cleaner, freer. Meanwhile, for her, it was the opposite. Every day became another chapter in her downfall. Her calls turned from desperate to furious. She accused me of ruining her life, of turning people against her. She shouted through the phone that I was being cruel, that she had made one mistake, and that I should forgive her. But I didn't need to respond. The silence was its own kind of justice. The more I ignored her, the louder the world seemed to echo with reminders of what she had done. By midweek, the wedding venue had called. They'd seen the posts, the rumors, the viral threads that seemed to grow longer every hour. They told me, in a voice dripping with awkward sympathy, that they could no longer host our event. Too much controversy, they said. The caterers followed. Then the florist. Then the photographer. Piece by piece, every plan she had bragged about to her friends, every Instagram-worthy detail she had shoved down everyone's throat, unraveled. I didn't even have to lift a finger. The truth had done all the work for me. But I wasn't done, because even though she had lost her job, her friends, and her wedding, she still had her pride. And pride, in her case, was the last mask she wore. I wanted that gone too. So I set up one final move. I called her parents, the people who had once looked at me as if I was the son they never had. I laid out everything, the pictures, the messages, the lies. I spoke calmly, not like a man raging for revenge, but like someone who simply wanted them to know the truth. And when I was done, I could hear the silence on the other end of the line. Her father sighed, a long, heavy sound, before finally saying, "We'll take care of it from here." From that moment on, she was cut off. No more excuses, no more lifelines. The people she thought would always stand by her side had finally seen her for who she was. The next time I saw her, she was sitting alone on the steps outside her mother's house, face buried in her hands. No ring, no friends, no plans. Just a woman who had traded everything for one reckless night of selfishness. She looked up when I walked past, eyes red and swollen, but I didn't stop. I didn't need to. She already knew it was over. And yet, even then, there was a small part of me that wanted to say something. Not to take her back. Not to forgive her. But to let her know why. To make sure she understood the lesson. But I didn't. Because sometimes silence says more than any words ever could. In the weeks that followed, I watched from a distance as her world shrank smaller and smaller. The woman who once strutted through town with her head held high, who bragged about her wedding plans, her future, her perfect life, now walked with her eyes fixed to the ground. People she once called friends avoided her on the street. Co-workers she used to gossip with crossed the road rather than face her. Even social media, the stage she had once used to perform her happiness, had turned into a silent graveyard of old pictures and memories she couldn't bear to delete. And me? I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. The best revenge isn't fire or fury. It's peace. I rebuilt my days slowly, focusing on my work, my kids, and the small things that had once been drowned out by her drama. Every sunrise felt like a new beginning, every quiet evening like a gift. I realized I didn't need her. I never had. All I ever needed was honesty, loyalty, and respect. 3 things she could never give me. The last time I saw her was at the grocery store months later. She looked older, worn down, a shadow of the woman I used to know. She glanced up, met my eyes for a moment, and then quickly turned away, pretending to study the shelves. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel sadness. What I felt was nothing, and nothing, I realized, was freedom. There was never going to be a wedding, and thank God for that. What I thought was the end of my world turned out to be the start of a better one. She lost everything she thought she deserved: the ring, the friends, the future, even her reputation. And me? I gained something far more valuable: my freedom, my peace.